Okay, we are in for a long one. There's a lot for us to go over. This kingdom is kind of just... it's a pain. Okay, it's a pain. But, of course, in typical Odyssey fashion, there are things we can do to go fast, and we need to go over them. So let's rock and roll. So, skip through all the necessary cutscenes, and skip through all the necessary cappy text, as you've done all the way up until now. And then as soon as you gain control of Mario, basically before you can even see him, just simply begin rolling forward. And don't input anything on the analog stick. You want to just continue roll boosting straight ahead, and you'll basically 99.99% of the time go straight past these Goombas without failure. Then once you're at the end, jump and throw Cappy at the pylon to capture it. Then once you come out of the pylon, dive, then jump and dive, and throw Cappy and capture the Pokio. Then jump up and poke your nose into the wall and shake to get a big jump as the Pokio. Then once you're near the top, you can shake again to kind of stall in the air and make it up top. Then we're going to be doing a little bit of a fancy strat here where we're going to uncapture the Pokio. You're going to jump up in the air, throw Cappy basically above the Pokio like so, fall down, jump into the moon, and then also input a shake input on your controller to capture the Pokio and warp back up top. You'll hear this referred to as Bird Dram, and this moon in particular can be swapped out with two other moons in Bowser's Kingdom, and you can route this kingdom a little bit differently depending on what you find most comfortable. This Bird Moon is probably the easiest / fastest way, if that makes sense. So it's like the fastest easy one. It's not the fastest method overall, but it only loses like a tiny fraction of a second compared to the fastest moon, which is a box moon later on in the kingdom, or a moon behind some boxes, I guess I should say. But a lot of people choose and opt to go for this moon as it's a little bit simpler and a bit easier to pull off for people just getting started. But I'll mention the other two moons as we go past them. But yeah, the timing for this capture strat, or I guess, you know, in the words of the community, dram strat, can be a little bit weird. It might take a little bit of practice. Worst case scenario, if you don't get the warp, there is a Pokio down on the floor that you can capture and then just make your way back up. But overall, this is not super bad. Just takes a little bit of getting comfortable with. But anyway, once you're back up top, uncapture your Pokio and head on over towards this wire here and capture it and progress forward. Then we're going to head up over the stairs and then long jump off. And then cap dive and dive onto this platform before long jumping. Make sure to roll past the front of the ogre so that he'll try and slam down to hit you. And then you can ground pound and then cap, throw, and dive on top to ground pound his spot to, I guess, break him open and grab the moon. Then after the moon animation, skip the cutscene. Then jump and dive forward. Jump and dive again. Jump and dive again. Roll boost. Long jump. And throw Cappy at the wire. Then once you come out of the wire, dive, begin roll boosting forward, and then roll cancel this first shard, then head towards the right, jump up in the air and grab this second shard, then ground pound, cap dive up to this spot here, ground pound again, and then cap dive and dive onto this green roof, then ground pound again, cap dive and dive up to the second green roof, then make your way over and grab this other shard, then head towards the left, fall over the edge, throw Cappy behind you, turn back around, then shake to home Cappy into that second last shard, all while avoiding the bombs that are heading your way, by the way. These can be a bit obnoxious. Then make your way up to this platform here and roll canceling into the bird to capture it. Then head on over to this bomb. You can kind of make it over here on a cycle, so it's always like shooting towards you. Then poke the bomb into the box to break open the last shard, uncapture the bird, throw Cappy at the shard, and home in if you need to grab it. This will then spawn in the moon. You then turn around as Mario and just make your way over to that moon. I should note that there is another moon here that people will often replace that bird dram strat from the beginning of the kingdom with. If you continue on with the Pokio and poke another bomb at these set of boxes here, it reveals a little hole, which you can then poke the Pokio's nose into to spawn another moon. Most people don't like to go for this one because it is a little bit slow. It's not super fast. The moon takes ages to spawn in, but it is one of two potential alternatives to that bird strat if you really need it. But anyway, after the story moon cutscene, once again, skip the following cutscene, then jump and dive up onto these steps, then jump and cap dive and dive up to the top of these steps, ground pound, then cap dive a little bit towards the right here so that you're away from the overhang of the building, as if you get a little bit too close to it, you won't be able to dive up top and you will bonk into it. And then simply throw Cappy towards the left and dive on top of the roof. Then head on over to the other side to grab the moon. This can be achieved a little bit easier if you make sure to change your camera before doing the ground pound and the cap dive, as knowing the angle that you need to hit beforehand can make things a little bit easier. Then simply making your way over to this next pylon, capturing it and heading forward. Head towards the right, grab the next pylon, and once again head forward. We don't need anything from this little shopping island. Then once you're out of the pylon, dive and begin roll boosting towards the left, and then jumping up and diving onto this platform and making your way into the boss arena. Now, in the 80% route, this is the first time that we are seeing Harriet. You're supposed to fight her way back in Sand Kingdom, but we skipped the story there, so it's a bit awkward game. But basically, her whole MO is that she jumps around and throws bombs at you, and your plan of action here is to just whack those bombs right back. So as soon as you spawn into the fight, walk a little bit towards the right, and just stand in place. She'll eventually stand still instead of hopping, and she'll throw 2 bombs at you. You can simply jump in either direction as she throws them out, and throw Cappy towards Harriet to knock the bomb back towards her. Then simply diving towards her and jumping on her head to deal damage. Then she'll go into this next phase where she'll go into her hat, and she'll start dropping bombs in predetermined locations. The first one is always here on this back right-hand side. So you can simply throw Cappy into position and knock the bomb straight away. Then you can simply just stand in place, wait for Harriet, and then once again, just moving across and throwing Cappy into the bomb, diving onto her head. And then the next predetermined location will just be straight ahead. You can then just make your way back to where you were before, just stand in place, and then do the same thing for the last point of damage. Then after the cutscene, make your way over to the other arena so that we can fight Topper again. This boss fight is relatively similar to the first time we fight Topper in Cap Kingdom, except this time he has basically just a lot more hats. But as soon as you spawn in, just dive towards him and then throw Cappy at him 3 times. And then jump on his head. And then while standing basically directly in front of him, he'll go into his little hat animation. As soon as he goes to head down into his hat, jump up and head forward to bop the hat straight away. Then head backwards, jump up and throw Cappy into the air above Topper so that as soon as he spawns in, you'll be doing damage to the hats, which will force him into his spinning phase, where you can then just jump on top of him to deal damage. And then just like before, as soon as he goes into his hats, you can jump on top of it. It should be noted here that while these hats are spawning in, they don't actually deal damage to you. So you don't have to worry about them maybe doing damage and ruining the cycle or whatnot. As long as they haven't fully spawned in, they won't deal any damage to you. So you should be jumping before they can deal damage to you. So if you do notice that you're taking damage, that just means you're jumping too late. And then once again, head back, jump and throw Cappy. Once it goes into his spinning phase, jump on top of him. And that's the fight. These 2 bosses aren't overly complicated. They're rather easy to get the hang of, but making them go even faster is a little bit difficult, but we'll have that conversation when we get to it. Once the moon spawns in, just start rolling towards it and then long jumping into it. Then of course, after the moon cutscene plays, skip the following cutscene. As soon as you gain control of Mario, just begin roll boosting forwards, then jumping and diving onto this platform, roll boosting a couple times, then beginning a triple jump sequence, cap diving forward, wall jumping off the wall in front of you, and then throwing Cappy and diving back on top. And then quickly, before we go any further, there is a moon around this section, which is the other moon that you can replace that bird ram moon with. This moon is the fastest moon, and the one that most people do. People call it box moon. Basically, at a beginner level, you can just jump off this top ledge, throw Cappy at the boxes a few times to break them open, and then grabbing the moon inside, and then just heading out the pipe. At a top level, it's a bit more confusing, but we don't need to go into that just yet. But anyway, you then simply just make your way up these stairs, ground pound on this second last one, and cap diving and diving your way over here to avoid the enemies up top. Then turning back towards the right, jumping up in the air, cap diving and diving to this step here just to be safe, and then heading towards the right and capturing the Pokio, jumping up in the air, poking your nose into the wall and just simply flicking yourself up top without a shake here so that we don't go too high into the air. Then jumping around the ogre, jumping off this box here, shaking in the air to stall, and then poking yourself into the wall. Then just doing a matter of poking into the wall, shaking to head up, and shaking to stall if you need to. You kind of notice that Tyron got a bit stuck on the cycle here. Look, this is going to look a bit ridiculous, but please be aware that Tyron is probably super heavy on normal muscle memory in this kingdom, and I imagine Being on a different cycle probably screwed him up really bad. Give him some slack, right? Probably not normally this bad. But anyway, once you're on top, just uncapturing the Pokio and then just beginning to roll boost directly forward until you reach the pylon, then just roll canceling into it. Heading forward, then once you're up top, diving and just roll boosting until you trigger the mech cutscene. Skip it, of course, and then head towards the right so you're in front of its leg. Wait it out. The Pokio will eventually get shot out. Capture the Pokio and head backwards. Then just shoot the bombs into the leg. Again, I love how Tyron messes it up. Until the mech falls down, then poke into the backside, or I guess the top side of its body. Flick up top and begin knocking out Spew It. Then once you're knocked back, straight away head forward back towards the mech. Jump up in the air and shake if you need to, and then poke into the mech. Stay poked in until you get knocked away. Then as you get knocked away, uncapture and make your way back on top of the mech. Then when it shoots you away again, just again diving towards the mech. Then once you're on top, position yourself in front of Rango, wait until the mech stops moving, and then head over the edge and ground pound Rango's bubble. Then after you get shot off, you'll notice that there will generally always be a platform that is in front of you. You want to simply just cap dive and either dive or capto and dive onto one of the platforms, backflip and dive up top so that when you get shot away again, you have a lot of height. Then once again, cap diving and diving on top of the mech. And then make your way in between these two black lines here at the front of the mech and just standing right in the middle. This will force the mech to always run in that direction as the mech thinks that's where you are on the floor, so it normally tries to run towards you. Doing so will cause the mech to just run into the wall and instantly do its knockback animation, which just makes this whole thing a little bit faster. It should be noted that during this phase, all of the bubbles are invincible and you can't actually do any damage to them, so there's no need to try and do any fancy things like that. Just wait it out. He'll knock against the wall twice before eventually turning around and heading back in towards the middle. As he's doing that, you can position yourself in front of Topper. He'll step twice in place once he's reached the middle, and then he'll kind of rear up to start spinning. Once he does his full spin, as soon as he's finished, walk off the edge or jump off the edge if you feel a little bit more comfortable, and ground pound Topper's bubble. If you notice that as you try to walk off the edge, Mario is wall grabbing and throwing off your cycle, that simply means that you're not holding, in this case down, or just whatever direction you need to walk off the edge for long enough. If you let go too early, the game will kind of try to save you. It's like a mechanic built into the game to help kids, I imagine. So just hold it for a little bit longer so Mario actually walks over the edge, and then ground pound once it's safe. Then just like before, cap dive and dive onto one of the platforms. Keeping in mind that during these diving sections, the mech will do a little rear and it'll go in one direction. Don't get too phased out by that. By the time you reach a platform, it'll always be back to its starting position. It won't be at its like reared position, if that makes sense. So don't aim for it while it's moving. Just aim for where it was and where it inevitably will be. And then again, once you've landed, make your way back up top so that you get knocked back with enough height. And then cap dive and cap throw and dive onto the top section, and then ground pound Harriet. And like that, we've finished mech. After the long cutscene plays where the moon spawns, begin roll boosting towards it, roll boosting twice, and then long jumping into the moon to grab it. Then once you've made your way back to the Odyssey, mash through all the Cappy text, head towards the globe, jump, and throw Cappy at it to capture it. And thankfully, that's it. We're out of here. We're heading towards the final kingdom in the run. I'll see you guys over there. Also, keeping in mind, this is a file that Tyron is just using. You're not supposed to have 132 moons here in the run. You will have 124. Just the way that Tyron and I have been recording these, it's not always the same file. It hasn't just been one run. I know I've seen a lot of people confused about that, especially when Tyron has been using practice mod and stuff like that. Moon numbers get messed up, coin counts get messed up, etc., etc. Sorry if there's been any confusion. It's just doing it the way that we do it is just immensely easier than Tyron trying to get everything in one run without any mistakes and whatnot. You know, if any of you guys have done Odyssey runs before, you know that can be quite tedious. And Tyron, being one of the fastest gamers currently on the leaderboard, pretending to be slow isn't easy either, believe it or not. It's actually quite difficult. But anyway, with that out of the way, let's move on. So there are a few things that we are desperately in need of going over today.
And there is even a clip in here that we don't really have a direct timing comparison for due to the route differences and whatnot, but I feel like it's important to show the improvement in movement and how you can go about going faster if you choose to swap that route out. But anyway, we'll get to that once we get there. To kick it off, right here at the beginning, we have some new movement coming out of the pylon, where instead of heading towards the Pokio, this is, of course, part of that route change that I'm talking about. We dive towards the right, jump over the edge, cap dive and dive, then spin pound as soon as you land. Then at the peak of your jump, you cap dive towards the wall. Then you can either cap stall or just wall jump off the wall. Then cap throwing back towards the roof, diving up top, jumping towards the pylon, then jumping in the air and spin throwing to capture. Then heading forward. Then once we come out of the pylon, we're going to dive forward, roll for just a second, then long jump, jump off the railing, cap dive and dive onto this platform, then long jump, roll past the ogre, making sure to go in front of him again so that he swings downwards, then spin pounding next to him, then up throwing and diving on top, and then spin pounding to destroy him. Doing an up throw here will make it so that you don't have any awkwardness with a cap throw, as sometimes when you're doing this strat to get on top of the ogre, if you do a normal cap throw and you're in a bad position, if you will, what can end up happening is you'll kind of bounce off Cappy because there isn't enough distance between the ogre and you, I guess. So Cappy gets stuck, you walk into Cappy, or I guess in this instance you fall into Cappy and then bounce up in the air. But yeah. And now we have some updated shards movement. So just like before, we're roll canceling to grab that first shard, then maintaining our momentum out of the roll cancel to triple jump towards the shard, throw out Cappy, and then home in to grab it, then making your way back up top and spin pounding to get on top of the roof like normal. And then what we're going to do is maintain our momentum running off this roof so that we don't have to stop and ground pound and do any of that stuff. We're heading directly towards the next shard, making our way onto this further part on the roof, roll boosting, and then roll canceling into the shard, and then homing in at the last second to grab it, then running off the edge, throwing out Cappy behind you, homing Cappy into the shard while diving forward, grabbing this bird in front of the bomb, and then going about the rest like normal. Then next up, we have something that is maybe pushing it for this video. This strat is definitely not something that is super important, so you can glaze over this one if it looks too ridiculous, but there is another dram strat that exists. This one is known as Bowser Dram, where instead of heading at the front side of the building and getting over the roof, we actually throw our Cappy in front of the pylon while doing all this, fancy dive nonsense. And I think original timings had it at like 0.5 seconds faster or something like that. This can be quite difficult to pull off, so definitely don't worry about this one. But anyway, moving on. Then, after defeating Harriet, you want to spin pound and head towards the Topper fight. And then once you've entered the Topper fight, you want to long jump into Topper and then throw a Cappy and bop off his head. Then, similar to before, once he goes into his hat, jump on his head, step back, jump and throw a Cappy, jump on top of him, and then just repeat the rest of the fight like normal. Then, after the cutscene, offer a spin pound, and then spin pound towards the moon, roll boost twice, and then long jump into it. Now, this next clip is the clip I was talking about in the beginning, where there's not going to be a time comparison per se, but I'm just going to show you the differences between the two, as this only really applies to you if you choose to change your route out. So instead of doing Birdrum at the beginning, you swap to the box moon here. Like, technically, I could, time the two, but it would be like a massive headache, and at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. But anyway, after the cutscene, buffer spin pound forward, roll boost off the top, then roll boost 3 times, then jump up and dive up top, and then begin roll boosting forward, then begin running towards this water, jump over the gap to land onto this platform here, then curve around and jump over the edge, then cap dive parallel to the wall, and then throw Cappy at these boxes here, break one open, head inside, grab the moon, then buffer a spin pound and spin pound into the pipe. Then once you've come out of the pipe, you're going to cap throw towards the right and dive to get a Cappy return jump over the box. Then you're going to jump off the corner of the platform here, and you're going to do a sort of blind jump, cap dive, then turn the camera around, and while heading forward, cap throw, and then dive again. Then after roll boosting forward, roll cancel over the edge, then home into the Pokio to insta-capture it, and then just making your way up top, similar to before. Now, you may notice the cycle that Tyron is on with this Pokio here. So I alluded to it in the explanation part, but there is a way that you can basically just get up here as the Pokio in exactly the same fashion every single time. So once you've jumped off the box and you've shaked in the air and you've poked in the first time, you want to shake, poke in, shake, and then poke in at the very top of this first rectangle part, then shake again, then poke closest to the inside of the circle, so that once it brings you around a little bit, you can shake again to poke into the outside of the circle so that you can then shake again, of course, to make it up onto this platform without needing to shake again. Then you can head forward. This platform should be directly in your way, and then it's just a matter of shaking and poking and shaking and poking, and then at the end, you should be high enough as the Pokio that you can just uncapture it and then dive forward as Mario, and there should be no issues. Then just heading towards the mech fight like normal. Alright, now, the big one. This is where we learn how to do mech fast. This one is a bit of a tricky one. As soon as you gain control of Mario, which is before you can even see him in this instance, you want to be backflipping and you want to be cap diving towards the upright position on your analog stick. And then what I like to do is to sort of turn the camera around so I get a better view of the middle bubble on the mech's leg. And then I cap throw and dive directly towards it. I make sure to dive almost instantly after throwing Cappy to get my direction so that I land on the front side of the bubble. I don't want to be in the middle here. You want to be on the edge. That way you can just instantly backflip and then throw out Cappy forward so that you can just push Mario towards the bubble on top so that you can again land on it and then backflip. And then during your backflip, hold up on your analog stick or into the mech. This will force Mario to do a wall jump. You can capstone here if you want to, but it is slower than wall jumping off the mech, cap throwing towards Rango, diving, and then spin pounding. Then, similar to the original movement, cap dive, and then dive back towards one of the platforms on the mech, then either spin pound or backflip or whatever to get on top of the mech. And then once you're blasted away, you can then just cap dive and dive onto the platform directly in front of Topper, and then buffer a spin pound, jump in the air, and then as the mech swings around, you can ground pound on the spin pound to instantly hit Topper. It should be noted here, the way I'm showing this improved movement here is the way that I do this. There is the more, I guess, common way you'll see it done, where instead of landing on the platform right in front of you on the first cycle, you'll kind of curve around the mech to land on the platform in front of Topper. I never personally found that very comfortable, and I didn't like doing that, but here's both ways to do it. Whichever one works for you, go for it. It's just never the way I've liked to do it. But then once you're shot away after hitting Topper, same as before, make your way back to the platform, spin pound or backflip, get on top. Once you're knocked away, cap dive and dive back on top. Then, of course, same as before, stand in the middle of this section here so that the mech will always run into the wall for the 2 cycles. Then after the mech begins to run towards the center, make your way to the edge right in front of Spew It and crouch. Then just before the mech stops spinning, you can start spinning while holding crouch. And then once you let go of crouch, you'll basically just instantly start a spin pound. This is useful here because any momentum that the mech kind of gives Mario during his spin can shoot you off in wild and random directions and push you off the mech and all this other nonsense. So buffering the spin during the crouch can kind of mitigate that happening to you and make sure that you stay on top. But then as soon as the mech stops moving, before it has a chance to rear anywhere, you want to, after getting the spin buffer, of course, jump up in the air, push Mario over the edge, and then spin pound spew it. This can be done similar to the beginner strat, where instead you just walk off the edge and ground pound. Basically the same thing here. This can just seem a little bit less sketch in my opinion, but it's all going to come down to whatever you want to do. Then, after you're blown off, same as always, get onto one of the platforms, get on top, then after you're blown away, cap dive, and then cap throw and dive back on top of the mech. Then you should be able to just, while holding the exact same direction on your analog stick, jump and dive again. And if you've done it properly, you should dive directly onto Harriet. Then you can just buffer a spin pound, hit Harriet straight away, and end up knocking the mech out super duper fast. All up, this ends up saving 30 seconds. That is a lot of time. So this is why basically everyone will always say that after a certain point, you should definitely think about learning the faster mech strats in this kingdom. This is one of the biggest time saves that we've looked over in the run. The caveat, of course, is that it is somewhat difficult and it takes a long time to learn. And I don't want anybody to get the impression that this is just easy and you'll get it straight away. It took me, personally, a very long time to get consistent with mech. I think I was not confident in my own skills with mech, at least until I had like a 102. And like before then, there was no guarantee that me going into a mech fight would even get me onto the first bubble effectively. Like I didn't even have that nailed down. I was basically just winging it every single time. This strat can be annoying. Doing it the fastest way possible can be incredibly annoying, but it is worth labbing out if you want to go fast because it saves a lot of hacking time. Speaking of, I also have a little comparison here between the clip that Tyron actually sent me and my own clip. The reason I didn't use Tyron's clip is just because his clip had target acquired in it, which is a strat you'll see here where we instead get Harriet first and then end with a spin pound on Spew It, but it's even harder than your normal fast mech strats. It does save a fair bit of time by itself. But yeah, anyway, that's a fun little thing you can throw in there if you're feeling a bit adventurous. Outside of that, we do have two tiny little things. One is a spin pound on your way to grabbing the multi-moon. A good way to time this, if you're curious, is if you pay attention, you gain control of Mario as soon as the multi-moon is off of the screen. So as soon as that happens, you know you can jump up in the air and spin pound forward. And then after that, this faster way to globe requires a spin throw roll cancel, but it can be achieved by rolling forward, spin throw roll canceling with your analog stick held directly forward. But anyway, that is everything we have to go over for Bowser's Kingdom. Holy heck. But of course, that's all we have time for today. Hopefully this long mess of a video was enough to help you get a little bit faster at Bowser's Kingdom. This kingdom is quite obnoxious, but I think you can do it. If you haven't already, make sure you check out Tyron's social links down in the description below. We are approaching the end and he has put quite a lot of work in as well, and I would greatly appreciate if you gave him some love. My links will also be down there, as well as any other links we may or may not chuck down there to help you along with your Super Mario Odyssey speedrunning adventures. And I'll see you guys in Moon Kingdom for our final video in the series.